Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Sony a7C Mark II. So let's dive deep into it. So what is this puppy? This puppy is cheap A7 Mark IV. Basically, you take A7 Mark IV and you cheap it down. Now, of course, Sony a7C stands for compact, but that's the whole point of it. It's compact and cheaper. So they take A7 Mark IV and strip down. Now, while they do strip down a lot of functionality, lot of feature set, they still add something to it. For example, this time, of course, because of the technology launch cycle camera company follows, you could literally have a cheaper camera that has better functions than last flagship. So it does have some improvement. It's not just low cost. It does have some improvement. And the target price is $2,200. Or in Indian price, it should be around 2 lakh rupees. It should be lower than that because again, looking at other of the cameras in their lineup, 2 lakh seems a bit high, so I do expect it to be under that. But again, as of now, when I'm making this video, it has not been announced yet, as in like what will be the Sony price, so I do not know, but it should be in that ballpark. Now, what's the target? Target is a good full frame starter camera, meaning you buy this camera and then you grow with it. And because it's a full frame system, you get the luxury of having very high quality lens available from day one, and you can enjoy a very good starting package. And it does have better grip for basically ease of use. For example, when 7C was released, the grip was thinned down a bit too much. They went a bit too much in the compact part of it, and then it turns out it was like becoming very difficult for people to hold it. So for that reason, they had to fix it. This time, thankfully, they are trying to make it compact, but not so compact it becomes painful to use. So somebody at least had wisdom. So this is much better. Now, the only reason you don't see the mirror hump that we used to have is simply because it has a viewfinder style viewfinder, so to say. Viewfinder used to be an old film camera. So this is what we are talking about here. So what are the core things that you have to give up? Well, the things that you give up is basically it has very cheap and almost useless, from modern point of view, useless EVF. What does that mean? That simply means if you are using any high-end Sony camera and you are buying this as a second system and you are used to EVFs, yeah, you're gonna throw this away. So let that be very clear. EVF is like backup EPF. Do not think of it as like, oh, I'm gonna compose in broad daylight using that. You may find it very underwhelming. If this is your first time, yeah, then it's a different thing. But if you're coming from any competent system, the EVF will be like, bro, no. Then we come to another aspect, which for many people, professional peoples, they will just yeet it simply because it has single card slot. Now, what does professional means here? Well, technical definition of professional means you're getting paid for it work. Second job is like if you are doing something that is very critical, aka wedding photography, sports photography, things of that nature. What does all of them have in common? Well, you can't undo it. Like you cannot just like, oh, I missed the shot, let me do it. Oh, my card failed, let's redo all these things. If you cannot do redo, retake, in those sort of scenarios, people have to use dual card slots. Now you're like, I have used single card slots, I have never had an issue. Well, here's the deal. There are only two types of people in this world. One, who have lost their data. Two, who's about to lose their data. There is no middle word. So people have learned it the hard way that thou shall always have two cards. Cards do fail. Having two cards does not guarantee that you will never have any issue. It just improves your odds of survival. It's like a good insurance policy. And people have learned it the hard way that they need this insurance policy. That's why from Nikon, Canon, Sony, Panasonic, Fuji, all of them in their pro lineups, they always have dual card slot. So could you do wedding photography on this? Yes, you can do it. It's just that you are playing with fire. 99% of the time, nothing bad will happen to you. But in that 1% time, that bad thing will happen to you. It would be bad. So that is primary compromise. Secondary compromise is it has micro HDMI. Now, Sony used to have issue in their ass where they used to put this in every camera. Thankfully, they did learn, they did improve. Specifically, I think with Sony a7C is that they started to use full size HDMI. That's awesome. That's GG. And from that point onwards, almost all cameras had full size HDMI. That makes it actually useful. This is so tiny. This is so voodoo magic that you look at it wrong, it goes boom. And like you can even watch Louis Rossmann. He was doing a live stream of repairing his e-bike. He just bumped into it. It's not like kicked it or something. It just bumped into it. This plug, it broke apart. So yeah, it's useless. However, the need for this port is a bit less in this camera compared to the previous generation. So painful, but okay. No joystick. Now this is a very critical point. Be mindful. Autofocus is an algorithm that sorts out focus after it knows what it's looking at. For example, if you have a crowd of people, the moment autofocus algorithm is like, bro, that's the guy. I'm going to focus on that. Autofocus is like, I got this. But here's the deal. What if it's focusing on something wrong? What if it's like, hey, I know the scene composition is enforcing that you should focus on that. But what if I need to focus on this artistic reason? In those sort of time, or in sports scenario, people need joystick. They can, if they have joystick, if they have good experience with joystick, they can take a very basic DSLR and still outperform most latest camera, simply because they know where to point it. Like AF can autofocus very quickly, no problem. It's just that what to focus on, that requires a human touch. For that reason, not having a joystick slows you down drastically. So for many people, and the lack of vertical grip, which is kind of odd. I was wishing for vertical grip, simply because if they had vertical grip, it does have that joystick added to it. So, and for portraiture shooters, they are like, shut up, take money. So like they have this toy that you have to add into it. I genuinely don't get this sort of thing. It's like, if camera company, as in Sony, knows that this camera is too small to use comfortably, why not just make it bigger? It's like, if it is too small to use comfortably and you are selling accessories to make it useful, not hurt your fingers, it's like, do you really need to make this? Like, how about you integrated it here? Or just use a proper battery grip. That could have been, that could have been, because the battery is the same, Z1000. So they could have done that. It's just they chose not to do it. So this sort of tools really pisses me off. It was also first time I think I've seen this is Canon RP. So this sort of thing does annoy me. So for many professional, they're like, no, just no. The moment you say no vertical grip, they're like, nope. The moment you said no double card slot, nope. The moment you said cheap EVF, nope. And not having joystick, a lot of them who are like relying specifically in sports and wedding, where they have to force the camera to like, bro, focus on this. I do not give a damn, like this is capturing larger area, focus on that. In those sort of scenario, many people are like, no, I'm not gonna touch this no matter how good it is. So this is a step down that you are suffering, because you are going from a pro to cheap. So what is the step up? Well, step up, the biggest step up is that it has now AI focused sub-processing unit. Sony has become genuinely good with autofocus, and it was quite early on. Like even A7 Mark III was good. However, while they were good, they did had an issue where it was like the autofocus, while it was able to identify eyes and lock onto it, it had no idea about anything else. For example, if eyes disappeared, meaning you spin like this, in those sort of scenario, the camera would could do hunting. And again, that's the same issue with almost everything. Like in this scenario, my camera did not freak out because I'm not moving away. But in other scenarios, it would have been like hunting. To solve that, they have this AI processing unit. It creates basically a skeleton of a supposed human. Benefit of that is that it knows the posture. When it knows the posture, even if the person is spinning, running, sprinting, whatever they are doing, it has a good idea of trajectory, where the focus point should be if the eyes return. So that is a genuinely good step up. Now, does that make this autofocus like, whoa? No. Why? Last one was good enough. Last one was like, 95% of the time I'm gonna get the job done. This is like 98% of the time I'm gonna get the job done. Would you really gonna notice that delta in between in them? Not that much. So of course, if you are annoyed by A7 Mark IV's autofocus performance, then you may be like, okay, let me try this. But for most people, especially people who are using joysticks, they're like, bro, it's more than good enough. So, and it does have upgraded algorithms which are running on this puppy to do better tracking with birds, insects, and basically vehicles and all that jazz. So that is an improvement for automatic mode. Now, that again, for many people, shut up, take money. If they, as a starter, they are like, shut up, take money. Another improvement is that I do not think is an improvement. I think it's now the supply line is working. It's like when A7 Mark IV was released, it was peak pandemic. Basically, world was going boom. In that time, chips were on very cheap short supply. So it has 4K output, as in A7 Mark IV has 4K USB-C output. It's just that only running at 15 frames per second. They could not acquire the chip that could do 30 FPS. However, after like 1 or 2 models after that, they started to put 4K 30 FPS, as in like actually useful video format, into all cameras. Even the cheap ones have it. So this puppy also has it. For example, if you really want to have a office meeting where you are talking with clients and all that, and you really want to impress them, this camera is like, I got you, fam. Plug USB-C cable in, plug it into a laptop that does not exist, and voila. Now the reason I say while laptop does not exist, Vaio has been sold from Sony Corporation long ago. Like there is some weird Chinese brand that has that logo and stamp and trademark. How the heck they have this? Because this camera is new. How the heck they have this Vaio laptop? My brother's first laptop was Vaio laptop. So I'm genuinely curious, it's like where the heck, or is it a prop? It could be a prop. So USB-C direct 4K 30 FPS output, good. Now it also, because of the fact that it has 33 megapixel, it has enough room that if they are doing 1 to 1 pixel readout, as in 1 pixel in digital wide, no upscaling or downscaling, 33 megapixel has enough room that you can zoom in and move around if you're not downsampling. So they are like, okay, we're gonna take the frame, and because of that AI chip, this puppy, it can actually understand the framing. That's why it has an understanding of the frame skeleton. So it prioritizes that some headroom should be there and some bottom area should be there. So in that case, it can like follow you around. Now, does that matter? If you have a very sharp wide angle lens and a good setup, you can actually make this look into useful thing, like somebody is behind the camera. For many people, it's like actually gimmick. For many people, it's like shut up, take money. So that's up to you whether you need it or not. Improvement in IBIS. So IBIS does have some minor improvements done to it. Do not expect day and night difference. Autofocus, you may notice it. This is a function not available. USB-C 4K 30, it's flat out not available. But IBIS is like better, but not like whoa better. Now compared to A7C, yeah, it's much better because they have learned from public feedback. It's like, hey, please don't save money on scroll wheels. So now they have an extra scroll in the front part. Now, why do you need so many buttons and if you can just use touchscreen? First, camera companies do not know how to use touchscreen. Look at the camera menu from Blackmagic versus any other camera. You'll be shocked how garbage every other camera company has. And not to mention, Sony makes such a giant, awesome screen and they have like tiny screen in the camera. Removing that aside, you always want functions of a camera to become muscle memory. Meaning, if you have enough scroll wheels, you will be like, okay, this is ISO, this is my shutter, this is my aperture. You can have all of that in muscle memory. And that's what you want. Like, that's why planes do not have touch screens and all that. It's like even in military system where they have touchscreen, they always have giant buttons on the side. It's like you want it to be a muscle memory. You do not need to think about it. So it does have improvements from A7C to A7C Mark II is genuinely a wow difference. Not from A7 Mark IV to A7C Mark II. It's like, even though I'm saying it is a step up, it's not like whoa. But for people coming from A7C, it's like whoa. So for whom this puppy was made basically. Now this is basically a welcome call to, it's like, hey, can you join our ecosystem of Sony full frame? Now why would people want to join into this? First, they do have some advantage, as in native first party lens selection is genuinely good, like really good. Now compared to Canon, Canon does have two issues. First, their lens lineup is still being filled. Again, Sony started 8 years earlier than them. So Sony is at Mark II variants of many of their lenses. So first, even lenses were like okay kind of lenses. Now their Mark II GM Master II Mark II variants are genuinely good, like really good. Even Canon lovers would be like, whoa, this is good. So they have very good healthy lens lineup where the lenses that were not amazing, now they have reached their Mark II and they have genuinely good performance. So that's there. Another aspect is because they were started so early, they did allow other companies to use the mount. So Sigma makes really amazing lenses for surprisingly low prices. Tamron also, they directly partnered up with Sony and they released a, because they are partnered with Sony, they will never make a one-to-one copy of Sony lenses. They will offset it. For example, 70 to 200 will become 80 to 180, something like that. They will always offset it. You do not want to, in a partnership, you always do that. So that issue is there. However, you do have very cheap lens and then first party lenses. So that means you have a lot of first party quality full frame lenses, and lens matters more than the camera body. So Sony knows that. It's like, hey, buy this and enjoy our lens selection as long as you stay in our ecosystem. So that's good. Compared to Canon is like, thou shall not use any other lenses on third party mount, and they flat out blocked it. Like, no. Now they have loosened up their grip on it and they have said that we're gonna work with Sigma to release some lenses. But if they're gonna actually work it, that means one-on-one copy will not be available, meaning you won't have 70 to 200 from Sigma. You'll have something what Tamron does with Sony lineup. So not recommended for many people from lens point of view. From a cost point of view, Sony is like shut up, take money. That's how cheap it is comparatively. Another is will this puppy overheat if you're gonna use it in India for a video camera? Well, short answer, yes. India is hot. Most people have no context of it, how hot India really is. I have seen people who are like, 100 degree Fahrenheit. I'm like, bro, that's chill. That's 30 degrees Celsius. That's this room's temperature right now. Power is not there, so AC is not running. So that's the whole point. Whenever you are talking about something running as a video camera for long duration in India, it must have fan or good luck. So brutal aspect of the reality is that we are above 30 degrees C most of the time. So short clips, good. Long clip, you will be lucky if you're gonna get like 15 minutes of record time. Most cameras have that. Cinema camera, again, they only shoot for a few minutes, and most of the time they have giant fans. So this is one thing that you have to understand practically. Another thing is, in cold temperature shooting, you do not have any issue. We have improved enough that people know how to have silicon, and that silicon bonded to a heatsink, that heatsink bonded to the chassis, so heat actually dumps. So you can actually use this in like this room for a very long time. And if it's an air conditioned room, night time, or wind blowing on it, you can keep using it as long as you want. So surprisingly good long longevity in low temperature scenario. So who can enjoy this? Well, vlogging camera, YouTubers, and hobbyist people would love this. Now, professional, I do get it. Like if you do not have the money for dual card system, I get it. But generally, I will urge people to stay away from single point of failure, basically. Because even if you, let's say, are buying a camera that is not super high end, you may have a scenario where it's like one is a very high quality C fast express card, another is ST. To keep the speed up, you may be like, only RAW goes into my CF Express and JPEG goes there. But here's the, at the point of failure, let's say your CF card goes away, you will be more than happy that you have a quality JPEG. So trust me, for that reason, I generally recommend people to stay away from single point of failure. Again, if you have no other option, enjoy. But if you could afford to move up a little bit, try to move up. And not to mention, for other people, especially in sports, they may find that joystick to be like, shut up, take money. And electronic viewfinder. So for that reason, I would say, not urge professional to just jump into this, or heck, wait a few days and save up money from A7 Mark IV and spend that money on quality lens. You will be much happier. So this was my presentation on A7C Mark II. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.